Hey guys, I just want to remind you that OTR Wrestling Podcast is still partnered with sportsgrinddaily.com and as well as viewsfromtheotr.com. Go to sportsgrinddaily.com for all your sports needs, whether it's basketball, football, wrestling, anything. And of course, viewsfromtheotr.com will be providing you guys with exclusive interviews, articles, our push series, and more importantly, this podcast, the namesake, Outside the Ring Wrestling Podcast. So don't forget to check those two sites out, and let's get into the show.
I guess you wasn't expecting to hear me so soon. This is Paris, and I'm super sick and nasally and congested, but I'm here at the podcast. I know I've been MIA in the last couple of weeks, maybe even a month or two.
Yeah, I told them, I was telling Paris, I'm like, she needs to apologize for her shit.
I am sorry, guys. I am in school. School is kicking my ass, and I'm broke as fuck.
It's like I'm on this podcast and I'm telling people I have a co-host. I'm sure they don't believe me.
It's like
you keep talking about myself. Yeah.
It's like the child I created. And she's like out here single parenting it.
Right. So for 2 weeks I was doing it by myself. And I'm like, oh, Paris will be back next week. She didn't show up again. And I was like, okay, she's on vacation now.
It's not that I don't show up. It's just that sometimes school fucks with me and I'm like, all right, guys, fine.
And I respect that because, I'm a student as well. And so school is more important. But then she went on vacation for okay,
I haven't seen my family down south in 5 years. They won't let me forget it. So, excuse me.
So, you better not go back for another 5 years.
I told him that. I'm not going back for another 5 years, guys. See you when I have kids, which will be 20 years, actually.
Oh, Lord.
No, but, my vacation was paid for, so I was like, do you want to go down south? I'll pay for everything. Hell, if your mom asks you to go somewhere on vacation, she'll pay for everything.
I do it too.
Okay. But I am happy to be back. I do miss this podcast. I do talk about it a lot in school because we have to talk about side projects. I got a side nigga project. No, I do talk about this podcast. I do carry it around with me everywhere I go. This is pretty much all I talk about. And I have missed ranting and raving about wrestlers, and I miss watching wrestling, and I'm about to be on a break from school. I get to watch 3 weeks of Raw. Yes, I hope it's 4 weeks. I hope there's a snowstorm that hits New York soon.
Oh, I'll pray for that too.
Just but I do miss it, and we are going to talk about things. If you guys hear me cough, sneeze, hack up a lung.
She's going to infect me, and then next week...
She'll be happy, trust me. She don't want to go to school.
Yeah, I don't.
So...
Anyways, all jokes aside, hey, what's up, guys? It's Cree
and Paris,
and you're listening to another edition of Outside the Ring Wrestling Podcast. And of course, we're gonna give you wrestling news. We're gonna talk about Survivor Series, everything. I even went on Twitter, asked you guys what you want to talk about. So we'll be starting the show, and we're gonna just do it how we usually do wrestling news. So first thing on our list is a lot of releases and things happening, so we could just talk about them as they go by. Brad Maddox was just recently released, I believe 2 weeks ago. Now, Paris, I didn't tell her about this, but he basically cut a promo before Main Event, which is the show that happens before they tape a SmackDown. Mm-hmm. So he did a promo, and he used the phrase cocky pricks.
Yeah.
And so apparently, or allegedly, rather, Vince did not like that very much. So
Vince, the creator of the Attitude Era, did not like it when the man said pricks. Cocky pricks, my fault. The man who brought you pervs, including myself in that, lingerie fights, bra and panty matches.
Yeah.
Didn't like this man said cocky pervs. But the Divas could walk around in their underwear, wrestle in their underwear, not shaming them because, hey, if they're comfortable, I'm good. It's just it's morals. Weird. Where are they?
Personally,
not morals,
I think,
but
what I think, though? I think Brad Maddox was on a short string to begin with.
Yeah.
And I felt like maybe not a short string, but I feel like, with cuts, every year they try to release a certain amount of people to help with budgets. Mm-hmm. I just think he was just one of the first casualties of wars. It just happened that the reason like they fired him was just that.
Yeah.
But I do hope that we get to hear from Brad Maddox pretty soon. We get to basically clear up everything. Keep your eyes out for anything that happens with him, because I know he's going to be taking bookings soon for indie shows and whatnot. So best wishes to him. Next, we have Solomon Crowe was released, but this release was a little bit different. He asked for it himself. Mm-hmm. And if you guys remember, Solomon Crowe, a.k.a. Sami Callihan, is down at NXT, or was down at NXT. And he asked for his own release, which I actually am happy for him, because when I was watching NXT, he wasn't doing anything. If you guys remember, Zara Schieberman, she was supposed to be his valet. And, of course, she was released because of her social media activity.
She'll be back.
But, yeah. And had she not been released, I think she would have been his valet or his manager. Mm-hmm. So maybe that release kind of affected his character. I'm not sure, but I'm sure when he goes back to the indie, he'll be back to the drawing board and he'll be just fine. So best wishes to him as well. And last but not least, this is another one of someone being released, Billy Gunn from, one of our favorite tag teams.
Yeah.
And he was released because he was using steroids for powerlifting. And so I was kind of confused by this, because a lot of people were saying, so many people have done stuff like that in WWE and they've never been fired, or they've been, put on probation.
Which is probably super accurate.
It probably is. But I want to know what was so different about this particular case. I mean, best luck to Billy Gunn. I really loved him when he was a coach on Tough Enough. Mm-hmm. And he was down at NXT working with the new talent for developmental. So hopefully, I don't know. It's hard to say that they'll ever bring him back because of it. But
I feel like it's more of a loss for WWE than it is for him.
Right. Because he can always do bookings. Because no matter what, he's always going to be Billy Gunn.
I feel like it's definitely more of a loss. Because, there was so much he was teaching people down at NXT. It's you don't get that every day. And I've always heard that he's such a nice, humble guy. You can go to him for questions and stuff.
And if he needs to be that person to give you tough love, he does that as well. Because if you guys remember, ZZ on the show, he was a mess. Still is. But he was a mess. And Billy...
Still is.
Yeah, if you watch Breaking Ground, ZZ is a mess.
I thought he was out. I thought he was sick or something.
No, he's out now on injury.
Yeah.
So we do hope ZZ gets better. But before, he was just a mess.
Yeah.
And Billy Gunn actually ripped him a new one on Tough Enough. And it was just so bad, but I felt like he needed to hear it.
Yeah.
So best wishes to Billy Gunn. I feel like he'll be fine. Yeah. He'll always get bookings and stuff, so he won't have to worry. All right, guys. And this is one that my timeline has been talking about a lot since it broke yesterday. Dewey Foley, who is the son of Mick Foley.
Lord. Okay, so I don't know if you guys understand my love for Mick Foley. Such love there. One of my favorite wrestlers in the Attitude Era.
Right.
But lately, Mick Foley has been kind of a cunt.
And we'll talk about Mick later in the show.
So his son now is going to be on WWE Creative, and I'm just like, bitch, why? Because when I saw it on my timeline too, somebody had retweeted him saying what they need to do is focus on Charlotte and Sasha and Becky, and I'm like, so basically
just the NXT girls versus everyone else.
So we're just gonna say fuck the Divas who's been there for years plus. Okay, cool, I guess. The problem I think Cree and I both have with it collectively is what qualifications do you possess besides coming out of a superstar's nutsack? Just curiosity. Yeah. And this is really not even trying to be offensive or fucked up towards Mick, but I guess it's gonna come that way. And if Mick by some chance listens to this, I'm sorry if you're offended by anything that I say. But I really just don't want even more shitty writers. There goes the conference I'll tell you guys about. I don't want even more shitty writers or shitty thinkers to go into WWE Creative thinking, oh, yeah, this is the way, NXT all day. No, fuck you, bitch. No, I don't want to see that again.
No, I think my biggest issue, not only the nepotism aspect that Paris covered, but it's just the fact that, from what I understand, they have about 47 writers and creatives to begin with. And it's already a mess of a melting pot. Everyone's throwing in their ideas. Everybody's trying to be... having that one guy or girl to be the face, and it's just how are we gonna work this out? Faces. Right, that's the issue I have with WWE. They want to choose one guy or girl, but I feel like the Attitude Era, we can have multiple guys and girls. what would have it been like if Steve Austin wasn't Steve Austin because The Rock was being that guy, or because Shawn Michaels was being that guy,
or because Triple H was being that guy.
Right.
Like, there's so many guys we could name from the Attitude Era.
And it's like with WWE now, they try to have that one guy in one spot, Seth Rollins or John Cena or whoever else, and then we have one diva, whether it's either it's the Bella Twins or it's gonna be Paige or Lana. Like, we can have multiple people. Like, for you guys to have one of the most diverse main rosters of all time,
look that way.
It doesn't look nor does it feel like that.
Yeah.
Because when you watch Monday Night Raw, and of course we'll talk about that too, it feels, despite the injuries, it feels so depleted. Like, I understand, Seth, Cesaro, all these people are out because they're hurt. But why can't we utilize the mid-card?
Yeah.
There's still people in the back that haven't been seen since last year. And it's like, we're worried about matches.
We're like, yo, you still here?
Like, you still work here? Like, that's weird.
Like Zack Ryder, so the fact. I think I've seen him 3 times this year.
When he's not on NXT, it's like, where is Zack Ryder? Like, we don't see him. And that's my biggest issue with creative. They try to push so many ideas in one time, and it never affects people multiple times. Like, it's always just one guy. Like, if we're gonna push Roman right now, which is great, why can't we push Dean as well?
Yeah.
Why can't we push the Usos? Why can't we push KO? Why can't we push so and so? Like, why is it just Roman by himself?
Because it really seems like that WWE is so affected by what the IWC says. It's like, honestly,
and they always change their booking because of it.
And I was like, fuck the IWC, because when you guys said fuck the IWC before, there was, first of all, there was no IWC in the Internet era.
Attitude era, yeah.
Okay? So it's like, go back to that mindset. Like, fuck them. I know I'm essentially saying fuck the fans, but honestly, the IWC are just a disgruntled group of people.
It's usually like extremists, because when you notice it, I feel like most people who want to write for WWE or like have written for WWE, they always have the extreme fans in mind, which I don't think is a bad idea, but you can't be mad at the fans when they reject an idea because you only gave them one option.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to make it seem like, okay, I'm against what WWE does all the time, because sometimes I saw the League of Nations on Monday and I loved the idea. I just feel like they need to pull it back a little bit. Like, you're trying to force feed us all this stuff at one time. You need to plan out your shows better. Like, I understand TLC is in 2 weeks, but if you're willing to build like you want to build, you need to start planning better.
Like, beautiful profits come WrestleMania. Like,
right, like, WrestleMania is going to be in a couple of months, and a lot of people are doubting whether or not they want to go. I can't go because I'm broke as hell, but a lot of people...
even at this point, I feel like if I had the money, I'd still be on the fence, like...
Yeah, because I assumed Dallas was going to be good because of the location, but based on how we're now with the booking, with the wrestlers, like... one of my favorites is not going to be at WrestleMania this year, and that's going to be sad for me because I wanted to see him. But at the same time, my other favorites are going to be there, but what are you going to be doing with them?
What are the quality of the match is going to be like? Like,
right.
Not just with our faves, just like our non-faves too. Like, are the quality is going to make me become a fan or make me respect them more as a wrestler or something? Like, at this point, I'd be going to WrestleMania for the food and necklace. Like...
Yeah, so it's just like, here's the thing. If we can learn how to have a small set of people for creative, I think it'd be better that way.
Or maybe even delegate certain people to certain...
Right, like a subcommittee.
Yeah, like okay, you're
divas. Yeah. You're the main eventers. You're the mid-card. You're going to be this person for pay-per-views. Like, even if y'all had committees for pay-per-views, I think that'd be dope too, because... WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year. Somehow, all these pay-per-views that we have throughout the year have to correlate somehow.
I feel like it's like if you don't do this already, like, and if you do this, or if you have certain people for certain things, it's not apparent enough. Like,
right.
we don't see it enough, and it's like you need to make it more apparent as like, yo, we're so organized, we're so this and third. Because it looks like a bunch of shit right now. Right.
And here's the thing. As someone who wants to be on creative herself one day, like, I want to be able to help Vince and whomever is writing and say, look, as a fan, this is not working.
Yeah.
You want this guy, but the fans are saying no, or they're saying no because of how you're presenting it. Because what I noticed, people like Roman Reigns. I don't, like, people on Twitter try to tell me he's not over. It just means he's not over with you.
Yeah.
But Roman has a new shirt every week.
Yo.
Roman has fans cheering for him every week. It doesn't even matter if you can hear beard.
Women. It's
right.
all sexes.
It's like, even if you hear boos here and there in the crowd, there's still going to be louder fans with their signs, with their shirts. Mm-hmm. And that's what WWE wants. And while a lot of you are only like, you know what, I like Roman, but I feel like his character can do better, that's something you need to go to Vince and say, listen, Roman is a badass. Stop trying to make him do this, that, and the third to be like Daniel Bryan.
Oh, God.
And that is what, and we'll talk about that later because Mick Foley touched that a little bit. But it's just like, there's so many things creative could be doing. So instead of hiring people, how about you learn how to fix creative within itself?
Have some company in-group, like, meetings.
There's no reason why a multi-million, even almost billion-dollar company is having all these issues. Like, y'all are the number one wrestling company in North America. Like, I don't understand what is the issue here. I understand, and we'll also talk about ratings too. Like, ratings may not be a big issue, or it may be, but there's no reason why the product should be shoddy because you don't care.
Especially this close to WrestleMania. Like, it feels like WrestleMania is far away, but in reality, we only have, like, what, 4
we have only
pay-per-views?
3 pay-per-views left until WrestleMania.
Yeah. Like, WrestleMania will be here
before you know it.
It's going to be 2016.
It's already December, yeah.
Like,
come on now.
Get your shit together.
And it's like, we don't even know. We don't, like, obviously Royal Rumble isn't here, so we won't know who is in the main event of WrestleMania. Yeah. But it's just the fact that Royal Rumble, what I like though, and it's also kind of crazy, there's no indicator of who's going to win the Royal Rumble this year. Mm-hmm. Like last year, it was obvious Roman was going to win. And while a lot of you had a problem with that, I didn't really have a big problem with that. But
so many of
y'all had a problem. And that's fine.
Sometimes no, not fine.
Sometimes you don't like predictability in your programming.
No, Cree's being like, fuck you guys.
No, but with this year, if we're gonna do an early prediction, I'm gonna say Brock Lesnar or Dean Ambrose.
I go with Dean.
I would love it to be Dean, but I can see Brock Lesnar because I can see another Roman and Brock match, even though I don't care for it. But with that being said,
we almost beat Brock's ass the last time there was a Roman and Brock's match. Can we just like remember that?
We can, but I just feel like for me, I'm tired of Brock Lesnar being handed shit.
Yeah. So you want to work for it in the Royal Rumble, basically.
But it's going to be easy because it's going to be mid-carders and people who don't. Yeah, like, unless he starts at number fucking 1 and works all his way up, then I'll be like, okay, Brock Lesnar can take this. But, like, if he's just number 30, which he probably will be, y'all can keep that. Y'all can really keep that. But to Dewey Foley, I just hope that... It's hard because, you know, a lot of things have been popping up over the time. Like, there's a post about Triple H... and how Mick Foley, if it wasn't for Mick Foley, Triple H wouldn't be anything. And it's just like, even though I know that post is significantly old, it's just weird how you don't know your history. At least not with your father. But it's okay. Congratulations on your new creative job. I hope that you actually make a difference.
I hope you have common sense.
I will be in your mentions if otherwise. But, yeah, it's a joke.
And
like, come on now.
Of people who watch wrestling, so...
It's just one of those things that annoys me because I feel like as someone that wants to be where he is right now, it's kind of like, I don't want to say he's undeserving because maybe he is a really phenomenal writer and he has great ideas, but I don't want it to be one-sided because it's very obvious that a lot of people on the internet are very one-sided towards indies or NXT people, and you need to learn how to have some homegrown talent, and that's what bothers me about WWE fans. You like the indies, you like NXT, but some of you guys don't like homegrown talent. And it doesn't work out like that. So, like I said, congrats to Dewey. I hope it works out. Hopefully, WWE can fix the whole creative issue within itself because it is an internal issue, honestly. It's nothing that has to do with the talent. It has nothing to do with the fans. It has to do with inside. So, I hope they fix it. All right, guys. That was wrestling news. And we're just going to go straight into Survivor Series. So, did you watch Survivor Series?
I watched bits and pieces.
Okay, so... Here's the thing. I'm not going to lie to you. I was one of those salty-ass fans at the end of Survivor Series. I was like, I'm not going to watch to the Royal Rumble. Like, I was so pissed. Y'all don't understand.
Everybody who's a Roman fan was like that. Like,
right.
Fuck this shit.
But in hindsight, I did think that Sheamus cashing in, even though it was predictable, it worked because... To me, I felt bad for Roman. Yeah. Despite how other people feel, I felt bad for Roman because it just feels like one of those situations where he's always one step close and then someone pulls the rug underneath him. Now, the matches were great. Let me say that.
Yeah.
Aside from the finish of the whole pay-per-view, I would have given Survivor Series maybe a 7 out of 10. The only issue for me was the Divas match. Charlotte and Paige was just so horrible. It was so boring. Like, I couldn't do it.
Talk more about Charlotte. And
yeah, we'll talk. Before we recorded, I had her watch highlights of Raw because she didn't get to watch it on Monday, and she has some opinions about Charlotte versus Becky.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
because I saw I turned on the Divas match after I was like, okay, skip this because I'm like,
yeah, you're just done.
It's torture. And I usually like Paige as a wrestler. She can do it for me. I just like, I can't do this.
Right. It's just, the pay-per-view was solid. It's just that ending. The only thing I didn't like was how Dean and Roman's match was so short.
Yeah.
And the pay-per-view, in hindsight, after it ended, there was like 10 minutes left. Like, usually they go from 8 to 11 or 8 to like 10:50 or something like that. But the fact that there was such a gap of time, they could have creatively used that for something better. But it is what it is. Roman and Dean was a cute match. I expected better, but of course they only had like 10 minutes. So like you can't really pull like an amazing 5-star match out of 10 minutes unless you really try your hardest. And it's like, it's not going to work out that way. But in hindsight, Del Rio and Alberto was great. KO and Dean was great. The only thing that bothered me about KO and Dean was that...
Wait, Del Rio and who?
Roman.
You said Alberto. That's just like, wait, Del Rio and Alberto.
I did? Oh, sorry. Roman and Del Rio.
I was like, wait,
sorry about that. Cool. I didn't even notice I did that. But yeah, Roman and Del Rio was great. And then Dean and Kevin Owens was great as well. I didn't like the fact, like, I still have a feeling about KO and Dean. Like, I know they're about to feud now for the Intercontinental Championship, but that first match was weird. I don't know if anyone agreed with me or they liked that match. It was a good match, but I felt like there was something off about it. What else happened at Survivor? See, because it was so heavily important about that tournament, and then for Sheamus to win, it was just like, we could have just claimed like Sheamus as a champ as the beginning. Like, you got us invested only for Sheamus to be champ. But that's okay. We could talk about the ratings. So we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Raw usually averages like 3 million per week. Yeah. Sometimes a little bit less because, you know, things happen. Not everybody watches. And like football season has started.
Yep, and basketball. We're in full effect.
But football for me, I think, is the biggest rival to WBE because football is a limited season. They start in August and they work their way up to February. Yep. So like a lot of people, they have to watch their Patriots. They have to watch their Cowboys, their Giants, whoever.
Yeah, Big Blue and
I don't watch football, so I don't know.
Clearly.
I don't know anything about that sport.
Last time she watched football, Bruno Mars was doing a halftime show.
Right. That's honest. Like, I only watch for the halftime shows at the Super Bowl. But, like, those are the biggest rivals to WBE. Now, for Vince, his biggest issue is to try and convert the halftime viewers to Monday Night Raw, which is usually around the 9 to 10 o'clock hour, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people have been noticing that the ratings have been going down. So the week when Sheamus won champion was probably the lowest since 1997.
Shit, really?
2.116 million viewers.
So the Raw after the pay-per-view.
Raw after the pay-per-view.
That's usually the most watched Raw. That's crazy.
Yeah, so that was it. Now, a lot of people have been complaining. They're like, you know what? Because even before, when Seth was still here and it was still football season, ratings have been going down, but they haven't been that significant. Mm-hmm. So people are like, oh my God, we're going to blame the ratings on Sheamus, or we're going to blame it on Roman, we're going to blame it on all these people. But ratings have nothing to do with the champion or whomever's in the main event at that time. I think it has everything to do with what you're competing against. Yeah. Like, for example, Empire, when Empire first started, had the greatest ratings every week. World, yeah. And shows like Blackish couldn't compete with that because everybody's watching Empire.
But now Blackish is actually up in ratings. The Empire is
right, because something changed. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the programming or the hour of the programming changed, something changed. But the whole thing I don't get is why people blame the wrestlers for that. They don't write the product. That's the thing. I don't think ratings are a big issue, and this is why. Like I said earlier, WBE is the number one wrestling company in North America. Mm-hmm. He has no competition. Mm-hmm. He doesn't even view Lucha Underground as like competition. He doesn't even like acknowledge it. Like, I mean, even though Lucha Underground is great, they don't go every day. Like, they have seasons, which I appreciate. They have seasons. But opposed to TNA and Ring of Honor, there's no contest. So I can understand why Vince isn't worried, but at the same time, he needs to be. Fans, I feel like when fans see certain like numbers, they always change their mind. And if you want an example, think of it like an album. Let's say, for example, an album releases, let's say Frank Ocean.
That's right.
Frank Ocean releases an album. And let's say
he released his album finally, really?
That's your business with him. But let's say he released his album.
Fight Christopher.
And he releases the album and then it doesn't do necessarily as well as people anticipated.
Yeah.
People are now no longer going to want to listen to that album because they heard the numbers were not good.
Yeah, like Tyga's album. Shade. So much shade.
Did a tree just grow in the middle of the studio?
Oh, shade.
But it's like with that, and I've noticed that also with one of my favorites, Lady Gaga. She released the album Art Pop. A lot of people were talking about the album. They listened to it. Then the first week the numbers came out, people stopped acknowledging it.
Yeah,
and that's what I think is happening with Raw. They realize, okay, the numbers are decreasing, so should I stop watching? Like, they don't have their own mindset to be like, you know what? I'm going to keep watching for Kevin Owens because I really enjoy him. Yeah. Or I'm going to keep watching for the Divas because I love the Divas. Or whomever's your favorite. A lot of you are just like, oh, no, the ratings are going down, so I'm going to abandon shit because nobody wants to associate themselves with a quote-unquote flop.
But it's like, don't say that, Paris. Yeah, no.
But that's the thing. Vince doesn't care, and neither does USA Network.
Because you know what the thing is, at the end of the day, people do record Raw.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
People have it on standby so they can watch it after their favorite show goes off or after a game goes off.
And that's the thing with wrestling today and any TV show. Back in the day, we didn't have TiVo, we didn't have DVR, we didn't have Hulu, we didn't have all these different mediums, we didn't even have streams. Like, there are times when I miss Raw or I miss a segment because my internet went out, and I can watch it the next day off of an internet or Hulu. Like, there's so many different factors that come into why the numbers are dropping, but the main one is football.
And then if you think about it, if WWE actually started having Raw, like the full episodes of Raw on Hulu, on the expensive app network that people pay for per month, do you understand, like, the streaming numbers will be so huge because people are gonna rewatch stuff, they're gonna watch stuff for the first time.
I'm telling you, and I'm gonna make this not a bet, but just to see if I'm right. Watch the show after the Royal Rumble. I guarantee you numbers will spike.
Probably.
It
always does.
If they do right with the winner, the numbers will spike.
The numbers spiked last year when Roman was a winner, and half the y'all.
And mind you, they had a snowstorm, so Raw was canceled, and y'all still tuned in because you knew what time it was. It's just like, come on.
Fucking crazy ass D talking about I walked all the way here from Philadelphia. Like, yes, Zaddy, come through with the sorry.
When football is no longer the biggest issue, because once the Super Bowl comes and goes, it's gonna be Fastlane and then WrestleMania. The numbers will jump back. But what I need the fans to do is stop pretending as if the numbers are affecting you.
Because you ain't getting paid.
Because at the end of the day, USA is about to debut SmackDown. They wouldn't do that if they didn't want to keep wrestling on their network.
Exactly.
While I do think the ratings could be an issue if it was a different network, we have nothing to worry about. I could understand if you're like, give better content. Of course, I agree with that all day. But the numbers, who cares? None of y'all are in school for marketing. Come on.
Like, hell, I'm in school for the cousin of marketing, which is advertising. No, fuck that. Like, trust me, WWE still gets paid off of their marketers.
Right.
They still get money. Like, the numbers don't mean shit, in my opinion. Like, when it comes to album sales, unless you're a Tyga.
Oh, my God.
It's about the quality of it. Like, the quality of WWE, it isn't as shitty as it could be. But
it could be great. Much worse than what it actually is.
Yeah, but it also isn't as great as it could be either.
Right. So that was our little Survivor Series bit with the ratings. And we'll be right back to talk about Monday Night Raw.
Roman should have been champ.
All right, guys. So, like I said last week, we're going to be cutting most of the fluff that's in Monday Night Raw, bad promos, bad segments. So, if you do watch Raw and then you hear me speak about this and you say, oh, wait, she forgot about this segment or she forgot about this, just know that I cut that out because I felt like it wasn't as important or entertaining to talk about. So we're going to start off with the opening segment, which is New Day opening the show. And I have to say, I like when New Day opens the show. Like, they're so entertaining. They're hilarious. So, of course, they come out. They diss Pittsburgh. They diss their sports teams. They talk about how they're losers and whatnot.
In Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where Bay is from.
I don't know which Bay she's referring to because she has a lot. And so they talk about Sheamus being champ. And
wait, she said I had a lot of bays.
You do.
Do I really?
Can name all of them right now?
All right, fine.
Exactly.
Pharrell. Sid.
Angel Hayes.
Fucking Hayes.
Mac Miller.
That's it.
I feel like
Roman Reigns.
And the Usos. That's like 7 people right there. Look at her.
Dean Ambrose.
See, that's 10 people right there.
But it's not like I ever have the opportunity to go and like hump all 10 people.
By Paris. Anyways.
And, like, honestly, when I mean bae, sometimes I mean just like friends I want to hug for extended periods of times.
Okay, Bailey.
No, I don't call me Bailey.
Do you hate Bailey? Or?
I don't hate her. She's not my cup of tea. That's it.
Oh, okay. Because I'm about to say, did I offend you with
that?
that?
No. I was like, I'm not like.
She's like, Bailey, ew. No, but New Day opened the show, and I really enjoy New Day. They actually introduced Sheamus because this was kind of like a coronation for him because he didn't really get to have that confetti and fireworks because
he
ultimately,
stole Roman's
right,
moment.
Basically, he stole Roman's moment. And then he talks about how he was just flaming Roman for 5 minutes and 15 seconds, his title reign. So he was just talking about how he was just going to be better than him and how he's done more stuff in his career than Roman was champ. And
Sheamus used to be bad, and then he just like cut his hair and such a dick.
So then Sheamus, of course, is now posing because fireworks are going off. The confetti is actually flying. Mm-hmm. He turns around, Superman punch. Roman just knocks his ass out.
Zaddy.
I hate you.
This is why you need me at the podcast. I can just do obscene shit like that.
So he takes the belt. I hate her. He takes the belt and he goes to the back.
Like Zaddy.
Paris is fired after this.
I'm fired. I quit. I resigned. We've been through this.
So we come back from commercial break. And it's a promo with the Authority, Usos, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose. Basically, they're kind of like laughing with him that he got the belt. And then Triple H is like, you have something that doesn't belong to you.
Like a father figure. Like, you have something, young man.
And so Roman was like, but this belt looks good where it's at right now.
Sure does.
So then Stephanie's like, listen, you need to give us back the belt or it's going to be a problem. So he kind of has a stare down with Triple H, and then he completely ignores him and gives the belt to Stephanie.
Yeah.
I really think that there needs to be a storyline like back in the day when Triple H and Trish, where it looks like there's some flirting going on, but it's nothing really.
Roman and Stephanie.
That would kill. I think that would be amazing.
Zaddy.
Triple H would be so mad, and I think that would be
do that again. That's too much.
That's gonna be the perfect opportunity for Roman to get screwed at TLC and then have a match with Triple H at Royal Rumble.
Roman's wife will never let that happen.
I mean, that paycheck would look super pretty if she let him do it.
What happened to China? Oh, okay, then. My point has been proven. I don't know if you guys heard that whisper. Hopefully not.
Hopefully you didn't.
Because, I mean, like, not throwing shade at who I mentioned.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like...
It clearly does not work out that way.
No.
So, then... The Authority says, Sheamus actually spoke to us and he wants to have that title match tonight. And so Roman is like, let's do it. But the catch-22 is Roman has to win in 5 minutes and 15 seconds. So as the night goes on, the Usos and Dean are actually told about their opportunities, which I'll get to in a minute. So, all right.
It's so petty for that.
We have... the Usos, who were in a match with the Lucha Dragons, and we actually had New Day on commentary. And New Day on commentary is hilarious.
The best thing in the world.
I'm gonna see if I can find the full match for Paris to play afterwards, but it was hilarious.
I can already imagine it because
they just dragged Michael Cole the whole night.
Charisma. It's just like I know it already.
Yeah, they dragged Michael Cole the whole time.
Michael Cole's poor behind always get dragged. Ugh.
And so ultimately, New Day causes a double disqualification because they really don't want number one contenders for the championship. But backstage, Stephanie says, you know what? It's going to be a triple threat match. Only if Roman Reigns beats Sheamus in 5 minutes and 15 seconds.
Bullshit.
And then before that, Triple H actually said, hey, congrats for your IC title opportunity with Kevin Owens, but you'll only get it if Roman wins in 5 minutes and 15 seconds.
And the whole thing is like, they're like to the Usos, like, you know, Roman's gonna learn his actions doesn't only affect him, it affects his family too. And then to Dean, Roman's gonna learn it doesn't affect him, affects his friends too. Like,
So we could talk about Miz TV. So Lana and Rusev made their return. And Lana actually tried to make a point that she never fucked Dolph. That was the thing.
I never fuck Wayne. I never
She said, I never went all the way with Dolph. And then Rusev said he never went all the way with Summer.
Just hand stuff.
And
over the pants.
It was funny because the crowd was chanting, yes, you did. Yes, you did. But Ryback actually comes out and he's like, according to backstage, you did go all the way. Because in Pittsburgh, they believe in Smash Mouth. I just wanted that blocked and deleted from my TV. That was so horrible. But Rusev and Ryback actually have a match.
Mouth, huh?
Yeah, they have
Ryback.
They have a match, and I believe Rusev actually accidentally hits Lana.
Oh yeah, and goes to check on her, and then because I think
gets counted out.
Match, yeah,
and he gets counted out. So Ryback wins.
What I do appreciate is that because I know it might have just been a rumor. WWE was really confused on where to go.
With Rusev and them?
Yeah, because Lana had officially announced their engagement on TMZ or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And it, like, fucked up storylines. So I'm thinking, like, it was kind of common sense to go that way.
Yeah.
But
I just wanted them to end with whatever Dolph and Summer was. Because that was so... Like, that literally was the worst storyline of 2015.
I'm being honest, anything with Summer is the worst storyline.
Oh, gosh. Anyways... We can talk about the Dudley Boys and the Wyatts. Did you see that segment?
No, and I love the Dudley Boys. And so, there was tables involved, I think. Yeah,
so basically they had these tables with the names of the Wyatt family kind of on duct tape, right? And so the Wyatts come out and they're basically going to jump the Dudleys. But then the Dudleys are like, wait, hold up. Y'all think you guys have a family. You guys are the only ones with families, but that's not the case. And guess who shows up?
I'm so scared. Who?
Tommy Dreamer.
Fucking delayed ass airplanes, bitch ass host, fucking shit, man.
Now I was expecting Spike, but Tommy Dreamer was actually a great replacement.
Oh my gosh, I'm so upset.
I wonder if Spike is gonna show up because I think TLC they have 2 weeks, so they can always introduce him like the show before.
TLC has to be lit this year. Do you know why? Because the Dudley Boys are back. Dudley Boys are like the kings.
I'm kind of sad that they're not having a match with the Usos though. It's gonna be the Wyatts.
I know. I want it with the Usos so bad. My dream match would be triple threat, triple team tag team, Dudley's, Usos, and the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
I would be in the hospital, like, hooked up to a breathing monitor after that match. No matter who wins.
Yeah.
But a tag team, and the titles is, like, up in the thing, and you gotta put your opponent through a table, a ladder, and a chair. Listen, let me write for WWE Creative. Right? I can come up with some shit, alright?
But they have a match, the Wyatt family. Basically, it was, I believe, Strowman and Harper and Rowan. And then we had Dreamer and then, what's his name? Devon and Bubba. Mm-hmm. And so they have a match, and I believe it was a DQ. Mm-hmm. But Bray got pushed through a table, actually, which was pretty cute. I think that... Ultimately, I kind of like this feud, but I just want them to do more with it.
Yeah.
But they have 2 weeks. People are kind of upset though because they think that the Dudley Boys are gonna go. They're not gonna go over. The Wyatt family is because they just lost the Undertaker, and I mean, no matter what happens, enjoy the match.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So next we could talk about Becky and Charlotte. So
can we really?
There was a promo early in the night where Becky just wanted a friendly match with Charlotte. Nothing about the title, just a friendly match. Because ultimately, let's just be real, Becky Lynch is probably the most underutilized girl out of all the girls that have been called up from NXT.
From NXT, people don't go on Cree's mentions be like, what about NXT? Like, shh, because I can already hear the Twitter.
Yeah, I can already hear them like, but this. I'm like, no, that's not what I asked you.
NXT, boo.
Anyways.
But Sasha, no, let's not even go there, boo. Calm down.
Right. So they have their match, and it was an okay match. I feel like it was probably one of the more technically sound matches I've seen Charlotte in this year, but it was very slow paced. I will say that. There was a part where they do kind of like an up and over move at the turnbuckles, and Charlotte appears to have a leg injury, or at least a problem. Now, Becky, of course, being her friend, she's talking to Rick, who's at ringside, basically trying to basically figure out if she's okay. Charlotte does a kip up, basically alluding that she's fucking fine, like nothing happened to her leg, and she wins the match via roll up on Becky Lynch. I know Paris has some comments. I'm gonna let her go.
You now have the floor. Listen, I've said this before, and people were like, "I don't understand. You see Charlotte shit." I'm not excited when I see Charlotte in a match. Like, I don't get the hype. Like, I get why you guys like her, I guess, besides the whole Ric Flair thing. Of course, she's gonna be one to knock over the partition today, not me. Yes. No,
you could have made it low.
I could have, but I had to expose her today. Usually it's me fucking up, so. But anyway, like, Charlotte's an okay in-ring performer.
But you made an analogy about...
I did. I'm about to go to the analogy.
Yeah.
So, when Charlotte pulled that bitch-ass move, I chalked it up to it being like that friend you have in college who goes to fuck your boyfriend to prove that your boyfriend is a scumbag. Bitch. Like, and then the fucking promo in the back. Come on, Bex. We're still friends. I'm trying to teach you.
Yeah, so there was a promo after the match where Becky kind of like, what the hell was that? Like, you cheated. And Charlotte just says, that wasn't cheating, that was strategy. And she even brings up
Flair.
She even brings up this whole message of stepping up. She feels like it's no longer NXT, it's the big leagues. So she feels like everyone has to step up. And she feels like what she did to Becky was just a lesson in tough love. Mm-hmm. Now, I think it's great. I actually like Charlotte in this whole dirty Flair type of thing. The only thing I hate is that Paige is trying to prove a point, and it kind of makes Paige look like the good guy. And it's like, if Paige is gonna be heel, keep her a heel.
Yeah.
But don't make it out to be like, oh, Paige is actually the really good girl, and she's trying to save everybody from Charlotte. But it doesn't work. I don't know.
It's hard to do when you're friends with Zara.
Who's friends with her?
Paige.
They are?
Oh, you didn't see when Zara was like, "Oh my God, Paige, you look so good." She's like, "Thanks, friend," or some shit like that.
Oh, Paige. I thought we were better.
I gotta find that tweet so you can see it.
But yeah, like, I don't know. I think that if they're gonna make this work, I would have rather Charlotte cheat out of necessity, not because she wants to teach Becky a lesson. Mm-hmm. But they keep making Becky look so stupid. That's the thing I got a problem with.
And I love Becky so much. Like, I really like Becky out of all the NXT girls because I just feel like she's, like you said, the most underused and everything. Like, and she has such... Like, I saw her old NXT matches. Yeah. She has such strength.
She's one of the strongest on the main roster, I think.
I'm just like, okay, I get Sasha Banks. I like Sasha Banks. Like, yes, respect to black girls. Okay, girl. Charlotte, yeah. Ric Flair's daughter. Okay. Becky... I
hate her so much.
But I maintained this since, like, she came up. I was just like, Ric Flair 2.0, cool. In a way, cool, awesome, okay. I just want to use Becky more, honestly, though.
Yeah, just use Becky better. Like, I would like they're allegedly saying that Paige and Charlotte are going to have a ladder match at TLC. I would love for that to happen. I think women need more stipulation matches.
And I would love it if Becky was to push Charlotte off the matches.
Yeah, like, yeah. I could definitely see Becky betraying Charlotte in that match.
Like, I'm just teaching you tough love, sweetheart. Sometimes you got to get back on that ladder to get that. I should write for WWE. The things, man, the things.
Anyways, so I'm skeptical of what they're going to do with Paige because it seems like they're trying to focus on Becky now. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure how that's going to look for TLC, but we'll see. Hopefully they wrap it up in a bow. We have another week before
TLC.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks away, so we should have another show and then the actual show after that, right? I'm not even sure. We'll figure it out. Anyways, we could go to the championship match with Roman and Sheamus. So, of course, you guys know Roman has to win in 5 minutes and 15 seconds. And the match was actually okay. Like, I love that Roman can be very convincing. Mm-hmm. Now, he has 5 minutes, and there's a lot of pinfalls that he tries to take, mm-hmm. or he tries to get Sheamus to take a spear or a Superman punch, and you can sense his urgency. I feel like with a lot of Beat the Challenge matches, what we like about them is that the whole sense of urgency. Yeah. And I think Roman can convey that really well. Of course, ultimately, Roman wins via disqualification because as he's getting ready to do his spear, Rusev actually drags him out the ring and attacks him. Now, this is then we're introduced to the League of Nations. Del Rio, Rusev, King Barrett, and Sheamus. And a lot of people were like, oh, you know, Kevin Owens is definitely going to join. I do see Kevin Owens joining the League of Nations. Just to let some of y'all know who were acting like complete brats on Monday, Kevin Owens and his son are sick. That's why he wasn't here. Like, he was bringing his son on the road with him, and they got sick. Aww. So they got sent home. Like, a lot of y'all were bitching and complaining about, oh, this was only to put over Roman, and Kevin Owens wasn't even there. That's so stupid. You're supposed to build him and Dean. Why I agree with you, I would have liked to see something with Dean and Kevin, but there's a reason why he was not there. And not even mention that after watching Raw, Kevin Owens wasn't even a fucking thought to me. Like, it was just like...
It was like, who's Kevin Owens again?
Not that. I enjoy Kevin Owens, but it was just like he wasn't even needed in that particular scenario. Like, a lot of you guys just want to shit on people who are in the top spot. And I understand Kevin Owens. If Kevin Owens was a mid-carder that wasn't getting nothing, I can understand that. But Kevin Owens is a freaking Intercontinental Champion. Mm-hmm. He was just in a world heavyweight championship tournament. Like, this dude is not being played with lightly. Like, they're obviously seeing his talent and pushing him. Like, y'all gotta calm down. It's not that deep. But of course, you know, then Dean and the Usos come out to kind of help Roman out. But Roman is like, you know what, nah, I have this by myself. Y'all can go to the back. It's just more Sheamus. But Sheamus, like a coward, leaves. So it's then told over the rest of the time that it's going to be a 4-on-4 match. So now we're getting to the main event, which is the 4-on-4 match, the Usos, Dean, and Roman versus the League of Nations.
But
before they even start the match,
our favorite guys,
New Day, which happy 1-year anniversary to them. I believe they first were together on Black Friday of last year. Aww. So it's now a year.
How appropriate, Black Friday.
And you know, Big E even sent out a tweet. He was like, yo, it's been a year, and it's amazing how we are now, because when we first started, people who were bigger than us used to bury us all the time, and they didn't even want to deal with us as a faction.
And I'm not even going to lie, Cree and I was not here.
Right.
Because the way they were being marketed with the whole...
It was funny because in the beginning, I was trying so hard to get with them because I wanted to support them. But it was a point in time I was like,
their gimmick just wasn't working for us.
And then they turned it around so quickly. I was like, oh my God.
Like heels. It was just like...
Yeah, and it worked so well. So congrats to New Day. I mean, obviously, you don't build Rome over a night. It wasn't built in a day. So there has to be some type of precautions or strategies to building you into a main eventer or a good star. So now that they learned what it means to be a great tag team, no one can deny them now.
Yeah.
So congrats to them. So they actually joined the match, and it then becomes a 7-on-4 tag. And this match was a fucking mess. It was a mess. But I enjoyed it. Ways. Yeah, like I enjoyed the match. It was something that I felt like, yo, had Seth Rollins not been injured, I think this would have been a great Survivor Series match in some form of way. But ultimately, League of Nations picked up the win.
It was cheating.
Right. Well, not even cheating. Like, there was just so many people.
It was like a numbers game.
It was funny because we were watching the highlights, and I was like, this kind of reminds me of that clip on Facebook of the 90s wrestlers. Everyone's in their ring hitting their finishers, and it's just like a mess. But ultimately, Sheamus kicked Dean Ambrose and picked up the win, and League of Nations actually stood tall. They actually kind of jumped Dean and Roman a little bit. Because in the midst of the match, Jimmy got hurt. So he had a knee injury, so he had to be gone. And then Jay's shoulder was actually kind of acting up in the midst of the match as well. So it was only just the two of them. But a lot of people had this idea, which I thought was so cute and hilarious, that Tamina and Naomi would join them.
Man, that'd be beautiful. But
I still want New Day versus Team Bad at some pay-per-view.
But how, Sway?
I know. But It will happen one day. I don't care what nobody says.
Intergender match just can't happen anymore. I wish they could.
If that was, I would book them on the show. If I was a creative writer, I would book intergender managers. It would have to be a smart pairing, obviously. Yeah. Like, I would never put a Rusev versus Summer Rae. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But
it's like this, who would Big E go against?
Big E, Tamina.
Yeah.
Or Nia Jax. Like, if Nia Jax was called up to the main roster, they would mesh really well. But, like, Xavier and Kofi, Tamina and Naomi, or even Sasha would work really well with them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully this family thing, which is the name, I think, of the whole tag team for Usos, Roman, and Dean, if it expands and it starts to look like a mob-style type thing with the Samoans and, like, the family members, that'd be so dope. But I'm not sure what they're going to do with it, because I do see more people being added on, but I don't see them being just family members. So we'll see. And that was Monday Night Raw. If I had to rate the show, I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. It was actually pretty decent. Of course, next week we'll be talking about League of Nations. I think Kevin Owens will be back, and I think he'll be joining them.
Okay, Brad. No, I like Kevin Owens. Like, I
like Kevin Owens.
Like,
I just can't stand the fans that try to, like, get mad.
The fans always fuck it up for everybody.
Like, it's not like Kevin Owens isn't being pushed, but it's like you always have those fans that are like, oh, but Kevin Owens should be here. And I'm like, Kevin Owens is already a champion. Like, y'all gotta relax. It's not that deep.
You got to chill.
Okay, so really quickly, I wanted to talk about this idea I had. On Twitter, we were talking about these injuries. So this is probably one of the most injuries we've had for the year. You know, Seth Rollins, Cesaro, Tyson Kidd. You know, even Cena's out. I believe Brock Lesnar does have an injury as well.
I think Cena's just out trying to enjoy life.
No, he's working on a television show.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Nice.
But Nikki's out with a neck injury. Daniel Bryan's out. Like, so many people.
Okay, Cree. Okay, you're trying it now.
I'm just naming the people that are injured. But yeah, so many people are out, and this is probably the most depleted main roster we've had in a while. But with that being said, I believe, as much as I love watching Raw every Monday and Thursday, I believe that they need an off season. Now, what I was saying, if I could just find my tweets, that'd be perfect, but I can't. I believe the season should begin in May or June, giving them some time to prep for Money in the Bank. That would be the first pay-per-view of the year. Now, for me, I personally believe we don't need 12 pay-per-views for this season, but if we're going to do them monthly, I would say that we cut down the hours of Raw. Make it a 2-hour show, keep it at that. I believe like I said, it starts in May and it ends the day after WrestleMania. So WrestleMania is like kind of like the season finale, if you want to, and like the Raw after is kind of like the reunion type thing. And then the 1 and 2 month period in between WrestleMania and Money in the Bank, that should be the time creative actually takes a break. The wrestlers get to chill, relax, kind of heal up, because there's going to be injuries. They need to ice themselves, wrap, check out if they need to take some more time out, because these injuries that's been happening over the weeks, like, people have known about them. Like, Cesaro knew 2 months ahead of when he had to do surgery that he had this injury. And I think that's crazy that these wrestlers get these injuries and they can't even say anything because it fucks with their livelihood. And I think that there needs to be a period where they need to really relax. Obviously, I think that in the off period, because I know some of you are gonna be like, oh, so those 1 to 2 months, what are we gonna do if we watch wrestling? Like I said, there's so many options. Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, TNA. I personally believe if you're only someone that watches the WWE product, this is where NXT needs to be pushed to the moon. Replace that with NXT shows and have NXT shown on USA Network, and then obviously have a show that's not going to be shown on USA on the network itself. It's the way I'm explaining it may sound confusing, but if you really think about it, it's an opportunity to expose NXT to people who don't get to watch it, while still be able to securing people to come to the network. Personally, I think an off season is beneficial, because I think that when you have a controlled number of shows, it's so much easier to write for. Could you imagine your favorite TV show going on every single day of the year or every week of the year, and they have no idea what they're going to do next because they're just writing to write? I feel like ultimately that's what Raw is. They're just writing to write. They're just having matches to have matches, and it doesn't mean anything. every time we have a pay-per-view and there's a new champion or we have a new storyline, they just dance around the fact and then they wait till WrestleMania to make it mean something. There's no reason why TLC is coming up and we shouldn't have matches that mean something. Even if it's a gimmick pay-per-view or it's not, it needs to mean something. So if we have a controlled number of episodes, that means, okay, look, we have these lists of contenders, we have these lists of champions, and every while we're going to switch them out or we're going to replace them. If I know we have 52 episodes for the year, I know how my timeline is going to go. I'm going to know that Seth Rollins is going to be champ for 8 months out of the 12 or 8 months out of how many seasons we have. But by the time we get to halfway point, Seth Rollins needs to be defeated at some point. And these are the people I think need to defeat him. Or this is how I feel like he needs to lose his championship. Make it easier for creative. They're swarming themselves with writing 300 days plus for the year, and they have no direction. So obviously, it's not a favorable idea. There are people who are going to agree, people who are not going to agree. But I personally believe we need an off season. And I said this before in a past podcast, but I feel like I didn't really pretty up the idea. I feel like I was just saying it to say it, but I didn't really think about it or have a concise plan of how it would work. But this is how I feel it should work. Start in May and end in March or April, whenever WrestleMania usually ends, because it changes every year. But if they have a controlled number of shows, they have potential people that they know they want to push, or they have potential people they know want to be seen during these months, do what you need to do.
But wait, then I have a question too.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about SummerSlam?
Yeah, so, okay, Money in the Bank is usually always before SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So that, of course, will obviously be the first big pay-per-view of the year for them.
Okay.
Not the first, but like the first big pay-per-view.
So you're saying give them the summer months off, pretty much?
No, they start in May and June.
Okay, I think I got it now. Start in May and June.
And then they end in April or March, whenever WrestleMania usually is. Because, okay, so whenever, let's say they end in March. April, May would be their off time. So let's say Money in the Bank is in June. They have 2 months off.
Okay.
So then,
which they deserve.
Right.
Honestly.
So obviously the wrestlers can heal, and then the writers can think of what they want to write. Because I know they're not going to write every single episode of Raw in advance, but have a timeline.
Yeah.
Because if let's say, for example, How to Get Away with Murder, they have 12 episodes per season for at least the first half of the season. They need to know what they're going to write in advance. Even if it's not done that day, they know, hey, we're going to kill this person off this season. Let's figure out how we're going to do that. Okay. Instead of just saying, okay, Seth Rollins is going to be champ. We don't know when he's not going to be champ anymore, but we'll just figure it out when we get there. No, know for a fact that the next champion is going to be Roman Reigns, and then you need to know how it's going to be done. Or the next champion is going to be whomever. Like, it feels so unorganized, and I think it's because they go every single day of the year. So if they took a break, they'd be more concerned with how they're going to fill up May through March.
Okay. That I see how that works now.
It sounds weird how I'm saying it, because I had it completely thought out.
You can always revisit it next podcast.
Right. But if you have anything you want to say.
Do like a segment called like Cree's Idea.
Yeah. You have anything you want to say?
No, because I've been kind of MIA and like wading through the WWE water, and I haven't been able to like really like sit and marinate.
Right.
Of course, I'm like still agitated at the Divas Division, but that's nothing new.
It's like every episode. We're like, fuck the Divas Division.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. So it's just like, honestly, just keep up. The way I keep up with WWE is through you guys on Twitter, through like Cree, through Gregory's petty shady behind, through Bree's petty shady behind, through Lena, through Sydney, through Ashley, through like all you guys like help me keep up with, through the countless Naomi accounts that I now follow. Excuse me, that's how I keep up with it when I'm busy 7 to 10 in it at school. But other than that, do we have anything else we want to say to the nice folks tonight? Oopsie.
Yeah, so before we actually close out the show, I wanted to talk about Mick Foley's podcast with Steve Austin.
Lord.
So for you guys, I know I actually had one of my followers, Mick, actually post the podcast, and I sent it to Paris, even though she didn't really get time to listen to it. I actually checked it out because it had a lot of controversy to my timeline. A lot of people, of course, I follow a bulk of Roman Reigns fans, they felt away. So I felt, okay, because I do this podcast with Paris, I felt like it made sense to listen to it to see what ideas he had and try to be unbiased because, of course, as a Roman Reigns fan, sometimes I feel like he gets unnecessary criticism. Or at least, in this case, the criticism that's handed to him has no value to what he has to deal with in this particular era of WWE. Now, let me just say this. I agree with some things that Mick Foley said. I did not completely disagree with him 100%. And let me just start off with the things I do agree with. The Authority needs to be a neutral ground. Now, in the beginning when the Authority was a thing, I appreciated the fact that they were a whole heel kind of faction type thing. The Authority was evil. They tried to get Daniel Bryan not to be champ. But I felt like after some time, it started to drag. I think the Authority needs to be neutral. I feel like if a heel does something heelish, they need to punish that person. If a face does something really good, they need to be rewarded with a title shot. Something that makes people want to care. Because every week, we don't know whether or not Stephanie or Triple H are heel or faces. Like, Stephanie would be like, the Divas Revolution, and we'll love her one week. And then next week, she'll tell Sasha Banks that she has to face 5 girls in one match. Like, it doesn't make sense. And
it's
then
not meshing. And
then Triple H, I feel like Triple H is a little bit more constant in being a heel than Stephanie is.
He totally is.
But I feel like I would love to see him not be that guy.
Or it'd be so rad. Sorry to cut you off.
Right, go ahead.
But to see Steph be like face, him be heel, and they're constantly battling.
That would make sense. Like, if we had Triple H, the head GM of Raw, and then had Stephanie, the GM of SmackDown, and then, of course, we have a dueling brand type of thing, that would be amazing. Yeah. But if they're both going to be on Raw at one time, I need y'all to pick a stance. And right now, I would rather y'all just be neutral because I'm tired of the heel Authority aspect. I think it's just, it's overdone. It's overdone. And that's what I agree with Mick. Because Mick definitely said that. And I thought he's right. Because how long have people on my timeline been saying they're tired of the Authority now? Like, ever since Daniel Bryan won the damn championship, people are like, okay, the Authority doesn't need to be heel now. They can go away. And then when they actually lost last year at Survivor Series and they actually had to leave, they were only gone for 2 weeks, and then they came back, causing more trouble than ever. Like, it doesn't matter. End the Authority or make them neutral. That's what I think needs to happen at the Royal Rumble. If Roman versus Triple H happen, there needs to be some type of ground that makes them say, okay, we're no longer going to butt into your affairs. Like, we're just going to stop here. But I don't see that happening because I think the ultimate goal right now is for Roman to be champ and ultimately defeat the Authority. But he's not Daniel Bryan. He's just not.
We don't want him to be.
And that's another thing Mick said. He's like, you're trying to make him sympathetic like Daniel Bryan was, but it's not going to work for these two different people. Like, Roman Reigns was a part of the Authority when he was in the Shield. How can you try to treat him like Daniel Bryan when he was one of you? That doesn't make any sense.
And also, to be petty, Daniel Bryan. All right, fine. Fine.
Yeah, like, a lot of people have been saying this. I don't like how they try to book Roman to be like a Daniel Bryan 2.0. And then people try to say, oh, the biggest difference between Daniel and Roman is that Daniel's over and Roman's not. Stop it.
Bitch, where?
They're both over.
Yeah.
While I agree, Roman should not be booked like Daniel. Let's not pretend like Roman does not sell out shirts every other week. Let's not pretend that. Come on now. But I digress. Those are the 2 points I agreed with Mick Foley. But to harp on one part that Mick Foley said, which I did not necessarily agree with, is the whole Roman is not sympathetic because, or at least people aren't sympathetic to him, is because he's attractive.
Now, wait, before you go into your little rant.
Go ahead.
Attitude Era. Rocky was considered attractive. Triple H was considered attractive. We all know how much pussy Shawn Michaels got. Okay?
I did not have sex with that lady. I was up all night.
Okay? Edge and Christian.
And even if you want to take it there, Triple H's whole thing with Evolution, when they turned on Randy Orton, Randy Orton was one of the most attractive superstars when he first started. People felt bad for him when they turned on him. So how can you not feel bad for Roman when he gets screwed the way he does? Well, granted, I believe they're trying to take a page out of Daniel Bryan's book. There's ways where you can feel bad for someone because they keep getting shitted on because they're not champion right now. Y'all don't want to because y'all have a feeling against Roman because he's not from the Indies. He's not a white man. He's not a technical wrestler like Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins, and that bothers y'all. Y'all ultimately mad, and I say this all the time, you're ultimately mad because you didn't choose Roman, even though you did. Y'all chose him, and then y'all forgot that y'all chose him and wanted to pretend like y'all didn't know what you're talking about. There's no reason why y'all cheer for Roman the loudest and then say we didn't want him. Like, you liked him until the authorities said, oh, hey, we like him too. And then you're like, wait, that's not what's happening.
Freeze pump on the play real quick. Hold up. Yeah.
It's like I've literally seen someone say we liked him until WWE saw that we liked him. What is it like being a fraud-ass bitch? I don't even know what to say. Like,
how do you live your life?
Right. Like, I can like someone, and even though they're getting a push right now, I can be mad at the fact that I don't like the way they're doing the push. Like, Charlotte. I like Charlotte, but I don't like the way they're handling her right now.
And she likes Eva Marie, too. And
right. And I know you feel away. But at the same time...
Next podcast.
I can acknowledge that Charlotte is talented. Mm-hmm. And I can acknowledge that I like Charlotte. I just don't like what they're doing with her character. And a lot of y'all don't know how to do that.
That's like me with Naomi. I love Naomi. We all know this. I don't necessarily like the way that they are pushing her to be like that hood, but boo boo, I will do. Like, granted, yes, representation is needed in that aspect, but because that's how white people view us already, I feel like it brings way too much negative heat on her than it does positive heat on her. And like, I like struggle with that because like one part is like, yes, bitch, be Shaniqua from the block, but the other But the other part of me is like, yo, like, not that I really give a fuck about white people respect anymore, but it's just like, not even respect. It's just like, I don't want you to keep feeding into this stereotype.
Right.
Because there are so many other versions of black girls out here being carefree and magical.
We're not a monolith. Like, I think people assume that all black girls act the way Sasha Banks or Naomi does. Yeah. And we don't.
Like, we don't walk around saying ratchet this and, like, that's not all of us. That's some of us, and those of us who do it.
That's
do
cool.
You. Like, honey, I'm not shaming you at any all, but, like, that's not all we have to offer.
And what bothers me, and, you know, Paris just brought up a good point, and I completely forgot about this. This is another point that Mick Foley said that I agree. I feel like when it comes to heels, no one really has heat anymore. The only person who has heat is Eva Marie, and it's not even Eva's fault why y'all don't like her.
Okay, great.
No, I'm being honest here. People don't like Eva Marie because Eva didn't get to train the way that she should have trained. And that's not Eva's fault. That's WWE's fault.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Now, what I will say about that, people can continue to dislike her because she hasn't gotten as much better as she should. That's valid.
Yeah.
But initially, why people don't like her is because she was given an opportunity that she shouldn't have taken.
Including me, that, because I definitely was all over it like, no. Blah, blah, blah.
But is it fair to say that Eva's heat, at least the first couple of months, was not her fault?
It is fair.
It's fair to say that.
Yeah.
Everything after that, if y'all want to drag her because she's not getting better, that's completely fine.
And I still stay on the stance where it's like, you don't slut shame Eva. You don't say you should be doing porn because some porn company
But Eva is probably the only superstar or diva
who gets a lot of heat now. Yeah.
And I mean, like, real legitimate heat.
Yeah.
The fact that people are chanting, if she wins, we riot. That's how bad the heat was. Even though her match with Bayley I'm not saying it's going to be the best technical match, but it was great storytelling. That was one of those matches where they would literally scare the shit out of their fans, and Eva won. And they don't do that with the main roster divas, but to bring it back, no heel gets heat any one of these days. Like Kevin Owens, Sasha Banks. These are two of the best heels we have thus far in the company.
And they do not get...
And they get cheered. They don't get booed. Yeah. Like, if Kevin Owens gets booed, it's because you dissed one of his faves. But it wasn't because he said he was a great wrestler. Like, normally when these heels say they're great, you're supposed to boo them and say, no, you're not. Yeah. Like, you're garbage. Yeah. But a lot of you are like, yay, you're the best. Like, you need to be champ. Like, no. The whole problem with everything today is that people respect heels more than they do faces because the faces tend to be a little bit more boring. The heels are a little bit more exciting. Sometimes the heels are better wrestlers. Mm-hmm. Like Seth Rollins, one of the best in the company, he's a heel. And y'all were begging to cheer that man. Like, there were segments where you should have booed his ass out the building and you didn't because you wanted to cheer Seth Rollins. And for some reason, WWE said, you know what, we'll keep him a heel a little bit longer. And that's missed opportunities. But I think that in terms of Mick Foley and his whole situation with Roman, he tried to give advice that is no longer applicable to this era. Mm-hmm. He talks about the Attitude Era, and he brings it up a lot because obviously that's the only era that he can really talk about because it's different now than it was back then. He talks about creative use and how Roman, he feels, makes so much facial expressions. He overacts. He feels like it's not genuine, and he doesn't really feel like Roman is being himself. Now, whether or not Roman is being himself, it has yet to be determined because we don't know Roman personally. The only people that can say they know Roman is Dean, the Usos, and whomever else is related to him or talks to him on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. But to us, we see someone that's struggling with a character, which is fine, but we don't know that man. We do not know Joe. We do not know Liati. We don't know this person. Like, this is someone that's trying to convey a badass character. And I think he does pretty well, but I do think there's certain aspects where he can polish himself up. Mm-hmm.
But like, we're not saying Roman's perfect by
right,
any means.
No one's perfect.
Like, Cree and I have never, and if we said it, we said it jokingly.
Right, we probably were talking about his face. But,
yeah.
Like,
we never think he's a perfect, no, we've always said Cree even said he needs to incorporate kicks more into his move. Right. He needs to use upper body even more creative ways, which he has been doing over the past couple of months, especially in the summertime. We started debuting those stuff. Right. But it's like, I feel like Mick, from what you're telling me, was being over analytical.
And it's like, you cannot compare the Attitude Era to now. Yeah. Because I was telling Paris, like, the Attitude Era, they had so much more creative control. Mm-hmm. And if you guys listen to the podcast, you probably know what I'm talking about. Austin even talks about this match he had with Chris Benoit. And they had the initial match on a Monday Night Raw. And he wasn't happy with it because he felt like for him to be as good as he is and for Chris to be the technical wrestler he is, mm-hmm. that match could have been way better. So they had another match on SmackDown. And basically, he told Chris Benoit, we're going to go longer than what Vince told us, but don't be scared because I'll have your back. Now, name one person besides John Cena who can do that shit.
Rocky, if he comes back.
Maybe Rocky, but I'm talking about someone on the active roster right now.
Nobody has.
I'll wait.
Maybe Seth.
Seth? No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
The only person he could probably do that with is Triple H, but not Vince McMahon.
Oh, no, not with Vincent.
Nope. If this was NXT... yeah, Seth can do it. But main roster, no one but John Cena can extend a match. And even John might get cussed out if he extends a match. Yeah. There's no creative control that these superstars have anymore. And that's the biggest issue with Mick Foley's position. He wants to nitpick, but he added nothing with substance. You cannot wrestle in the Attitude Era and then tell me about the Reality Era. It's two different things. Mm-hmm. It just won't work. Now, if you're going to say Roman needs to work on facial expressions, that's fine. But if you look and you really observe Roman, he's reacting to real-time situations. Mm-hmm. If you just told him he can't wrestle and you think that his outfit is stupid, like the New Day said to him, he's been wearing the same thing since the Shield debut. Roman's going to react like, what are you talking about? I look fucking good. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not going to sit there stone-faced and be like, okay. And I think a lot of people have an issue with how Roman reacts because he doesn't react like how Seth Rollins would react. Yeah. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, let me just be honest with you. Ethnic people, we do make up our face a lot. Yeah. If you go on Tumblr and look up GIFs, the best ones are going to be black people, Hispanic people. Like every single time.
Every time. Every single time. And
that's just how I believe it. I'm not making it a race issue. I'm just saying ethnic people, we put more personality into our facial expressions. Yeah. And while Dean Ambrose is probably one of the one white guys that probably does the same thing too, it's hard. You cannot compare apples to oranges. Mm-hmm. Like, Mick did not really he doesn't do as much in the Reality Era like, let's say, Triple H does. So Triple H can probably understand why people would react to Roman because he's mm-hmm. been there. He's wrestled through every era mm-hmm. that's been present. But I don't understand when old-time wrestlers try to give advice with new-time situations. Like, I can understand if you're telling Roman, you need to add in more extensive moveset. That's fine. Because a lot of people seem to have a problem with Roman's moveset, and that's fine, whatever. He can always update it. It doesn't matter. But his facial expressions, you don't think he's sympathetic because he's attractive. These do not make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I want to think that Mick Foley knows what he's talking about because he did go on Facebook the other day and was talking about this might be the last Raw for him. Mm-hmm. And But because Sasha Banks and all the NXT girls got their push, he's like, okay, I might keep watching. And I'm just like, you need to stop. Stop being obsessed with Sasha Banks. Like, it's just really bad now. Like, it's okay to be a fan of someone, but you need to realize Sasha and the NXT girls have only been on the main roster for 6 months, opposed to other girls who've been there for years and still have not touched the championship or still have not been given a great storyline to work with. If you think what Sasha's going through now is a problem, ask her to speak to Naomi.
Yo. Because WWE dropped the ball so hard with the Naomi versus
Cameron. Ask her to speak to Alicia. Ask her to speak to Natty. Ask her to speak to girls that left WWE years prior. Melina. Sorry. That's cool. Beth Phoenix. Ask them to talk to those girls. If you think Sasha's going through something now, wait until... And I can't even say wait, because I know Sasha's going to be champion in the near future. But it's just like, y'all are so dead... Y'all are so dead on.
Tamina, like, shit.
Right, y'all so dead on with your faves being champ right now that you don't even see the benefit of the slow burn. Like, as much as I wanted Roman to be champ at Survivor Series, I knew in the back of my mind that he wasn't going to be champ. Or if it happened, it was going to be short. Even though I reacted badly when it did happen, hindsight, I realized Roman has one of the greatest slow burns in this company. It's just a matter of being completely on board when he finally gets the big one. I just need Mick Foley and his son or whoever from his family that's going to start contributing to WWE programming to understand that while the NXT girls are a great talent, they're not the only ones. They can't wrestle themselves. Like, you need Brie Bella, you need Nikki, you need Alicia, you need Naomi, you need all these people to make a cohesive main roster. It doesn't make sense. Because if that was the case, they could have stayed at NXT and wrestled each other, and that would have been fine. But ultimately, you know, Mick had some great points. I just feel like he's really off base with today's characters. It's not the same thing. It's never going to be the same thing. They don't have the creative control. They don't have the TV 14 rating to do the things that you guys did back in the day. If they do, because it's allegedly USA wants an edgier product.
But it's going to be hard because it's going to be so much backlash.
And that's the thing. If WWE is willing to take the backlash in stride and stand by their product, because this is the biggest issue with WWE, I don't know if anyone agrees with me, they don't stand by their product.
Yeah.
Roman won the Royal Rumble. Then you put him in a match with Daniel Bryan for Fastlane to basically prove a point. Roman has always had to prove his position in order for people to come on board. You don't do that with everybody. And that's why I have the biggest issue. You guys like to put someone in the main event, but then you like to say, you know what? Let's fix that a little bit. You put Batista in the Royal Rumble to win, and then when you saw that he was getting booed out the building, oh, we want a triple threat now. You need to stand by your product. You need to look at them and say, y'all are mad right now, but I bet your ass when Royal Rumble comes, you'll be watching. And we always are. No matter how much we bitch, we're always watching. Even if it's not
the day it happens.
Right. We're always going to watch.
We're on Twitter, like, interacting with people who are watching for us and, like, giving our feedback. Like, we're always watching. We're never not watching.
Right.
In some capacity, whether it's tweeting, texting, streaming, TV, however, we're always watching. And even if the only thing that's going to stop me from watching WWE is if I get a life. I'm not being so honest. If I get a life
or if I die. That's the only way it's happening. Because that's just how I am as a fan. I bitch and I moan and I complain. But I'm always going to watch because for me to be a fan, that would mean I would have to care. And I do care. If WWE stands by their product and you stand by your guy, it's very obvious WWE wants Roman to be champ. Y'all know his potential. You see he's a star. You wouldn't be sending him to Conan and all these other people to try to promote your product if you didn't think there was something there. You could have easily sent out anybody else.
Yep.
But you chose Roman for a reason. And whether or not it's because of his looks or his height or his family, there's a reason you feel he needs to be the face of your company. Because, look, Natty's a legacy herself.
Yep.
She's not speaking on no one's late night time show. Like, no one's calling for Natty. And that's not to diss Natty, but there's a reason why people are the faces and there's a reason why people are the workers in the back. And I said the same thing about Bayley and Eva. There's a reason why Eva is a corporate diva and Bailey is not. And as much as it sounds horrible, Eva is gorgeous. Like, if you put her on somebody's billboard, they're gonna pay attention. While Bailey's an amazing talent, she's not gonna bring people in unless you know who she is automatically. That's just not how marketing works. And I wish a lot of y'all realized that was the bigger picture right there. But of course, we're fans, so we're volatile. We don't think necessarily, because trust me, I've done it a lot. I reacted, didn't think about it, and then in hindsight, I'm like, oh shit, that was actually smart. But ultimately, like I said, W needs to stand by the product. Mick Foley needs to stop giving advice. Nobody cares.
Shit.
And his son, I really hope his son works it out in terms of creative. Like, I want it to work. Like, I do feel bad for kids of superstars because I feel like they get all this heat because of the relation. But you need to put in work. Like, you really do need to show people that you deserve to be where you're at. And it's not because people felt sorry for you or because your dad was Mick Foley. Like, that's just it. Any closing words?
Nope, not for me. Not today.
Of course, guys, you can go to sportsgrinddaily.com or viewsfromtheotr.com to check out this podcast. I'm going to be putting this on YouTube. I'm going to be putting up the new podcast on SoundCloud pretty soon, hopefully. God willing, if I remember or if I have the time to. Hit me up at Cookies and Cree on Twitter, COOKIESANDCREE. And you can hit up,
long and complicated.
right? And you can hit up Paris at
PAREEXO.
And you can hit up Views from the OTR on Twitter as well at the same the same @. And of course, email us at theotr101@gmail.com if you have any requests. If you want us to talk about something, if you want to hit us up with an idea.
If you want to call us out on something.
But be cute about it. Don't be rude.
Because we will snatch your edges straight off your head.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Hopefully we'll be back next week if it is the week before TLC to talk about our predictions. If not, it will be the week after. But in that case, we thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Paris, for actually bringing yourself in the studio.
The shade. Thank you, man on the plane who gave me your code. I appreciate it so much.
Next week, like you guys asked us to talk about certain things and we didn't have enough time for that, but we will be back next week, hopefully, to talk about that. So whenever you tweeted me, I will make sure we talk about that next week. And adios.
See you later.
Bye.